Absolute Batman issue 23. And welcome back to the dissection table. Here we take all these video games, trailers, comics, movies, more, break them down bit by bit. Ooh, I've been waiting for this issue because prior to its release, I was hearing some really good things from the grapevine. That this particular issue was good, the overall writing and everything, and it was good. It was aggravating, but it was, it only got under your skin in the good ways because, again, the writing was really good. Before we get to the breakdown, don't forget to check out the description down below where you'll find links that'll lead you over to the Kick and Twitch wings of the Asylum, including YouTube, where we have dedicated playlists of all the issues I've made on Absolute Batman and many others, including Absolute Green Arrow, Superman, and more. So definitely check out those links and check in, become patients as the other wings of the Asylum. But now, without further ado, issue 23 kicks off with Alfred Pennyworth, basically the snake, snake from Metal Gear of the Absolute Universe, having a little sit down and sharing some tea with his daughter, Julia. Yes, she's here. We finally get to see her. I think we saw her before, but now here she is in Gotham City, and she's having a friendly, kind of tense conversation with her father. Tense because Alfred Pennyworth, and he even admits this himself, he has not ever been the greatest type of father for his daughter, unfortunately. He's always a man who's prioritized putting his job before his very family. Noble because he wanted to do the right thing and basically be the hero of the world in his own right. Basically, again, doing what he could for the world to keep his family and his daughter safe, but at the same time, not a great father. Especially when you consider that he goes on to explain to his daughter right here that, yeah, good news. I'm going to be staying probably more than likely indefinitely right here in Gotham because I found someone who's kind of like the son I never had before, a.k.a. Bruce Wayne, a.k.a. Batman, and he wants to be here to be a little bit of a mentor figure that you would expect Alfred Pennyworth to be, even if here in the Absolute Universe, he's a bit of a badass. But yeah, that's kind of an insult to his daughter. Oh, you want to be a father figure to someone else and not me? Ouch! We'll get back to that conversation because now we cut over to the headquarters of all the current members of the whole entire Robin outfit that are dedicated to tracking down Batman and other similar vigilantes, and we get Dick Grayson fresh out the shower. Detain yourselves! And a friendly reminder of the current members of the whole entire Robin outfit, that includes Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Stephanie Brown, and Duke Thomas. Why are you staring so hard? Anyway, basically the whole entire Robins, they go on to basically tease Dick a little bit right here, considering the fact that there's a whole entire voting poll of the whole entire city of Gotham City voting for which one of the Robins that they all just absolutely love and adore. With Tim Drake actually pulling out ahead of the polls, the whole entire voting thing, and him being the most beloved of all the Robins. Basically, Gotham City has turned this whole entire mechanized, unit that's being, all these mechs that are being piloted by the Robins, basically, they've turned these guys into basically celebrities, and it's definitely not going to some of their heads. I say most of them, but Jason Todd right here, who is obviously the whole entire hotshot of the whole entire outfit, the most driven, the most determined to track down Batman, even before the whole entire mechs have fully been recharged, he's going right back out on patrol, despite Dick's whole entire protest basically saying, hey, we're kind of like pushing our luck here. I mean, he actually leveled an entire building, even though it was, thank God, empty. But yeah, basically, he's going against wishes, he's going against commands, he's kind of really falling in for what Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, is telling them to basically be these ever-vigilant vanguard to try to find Batman. And it looks like he is going to more than likely convince Tim Drake to also go out on patrol with him. They won't regret that later. Cutting back over to the tense conversation she had between Julie and Alfred, she goes on to explain that there are two key truths that she's learned and that her father needs to basically accept. One of those truths being that those powerful forces that he's ultimately always going up against are phantoms. They're phantom enemies. Basically ghosts, even if they are real, maybe they're not even real. You never really know. And that's an underlining tone whenever it comes to this comic, the unknown. You just don't know all these things. Case in point, that's kind of better illustrated when Bullock shows up at Barbara's doorstep right here, basically to gift her some flowers. The GCPD is still in mourning at the loss of, Gordon and everything. His daughter obviously still upset. She even asked Bullock, hey, can you put more detectives on my father's case? But he's like, we don't really need to. We know that Batman was responsible. Obviously, she knows Batman didn't do it, but still, she's kind of like dismisses him. Oh, you're not going to do what I asked you to do, basically put more detectives on this, but so she's dismissive of him, but that's the point being made right here. Whenever it comes to the bad guys, you don't know if they're real. Sometimes you're just chasing ghosts. Otherwise, people think they're chasing ghosts, kind of like Bullock. Him and the GCPD, they're kind of convinced that Batman did it, but Barbara knows the truth, and that's just kind of like basically the argument being made by Alfred. Like, yeah, sure, yeah, sometimes there are ghosts out there, but sometimes there are monsters out there. Or people that become monsters, at least that's what it looks like here, because we also do get confirmation that whenever it comes to the Red Hood gang, they weren't really exactly gung-ho with working with Batman, but then they had the falling out, between Harley Quinn and Batman when they had a literal fight. And Harley Quinn, being the leader of the Red Hood gang, she basically tells them, like, no, we're not going to work with them, even though they would kind of like to do so, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, Harley Quinn could ultimately end up becoming the villain that ultimately still fights Batman, as we see in traditional DC Comics. And then that second key truth that, Julie has learned and that she shares to her father, when you're chasing phantoms, sometimes you end up swinging and hitting the people closest to you. And that's about to get illustrated whenever they decide to have their very tense conversation brought to an end. And yeah, we find out just exactly what she means when we finally cut over to Bruce Wayne at one of his many different little hideouts spread throughout the underground belly of Gotham City. And here, he's got his whole entire little conspiracy theory board going on between him trying to connect the dots between Scarecrow, Joker, Arkham, and so on and so forth. But then Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face, and Killer Croc all show up. Batman's friends, his beloved childhood friends, are all here in their monstrous main line, villain forms. Okay, much needed context here. Buckle up. First and foremost, friendly little reminder, Scarecrow revealed to Bruce Wayne a few issues back that basically Bruce Wayne's whole entire life was orchestrated by the Joker. That his life, and including even the lives of his friends right here, we'll get to that in a second, were all illustrated and they were all designed to become what they have become to this very day, especially Bruce Wayne. His whole entire life involved in this project, codenamed Project Batman, literally. That's further reinforced by the detective work by our absolute Batman right here, because it goes on to explain to, first off right here, to Penguin Oswald Cobblepot, that whenever it comes to one of the whole entire shell companies he uses for transporting, one of them goes by the name of a famous clown, basically illustrating the fact that, yes, even after they've been transformed into their classic villain, designs, Oswald Cobblepot becoming the Penguin, for example, even now all these years later, yes, JK Industries, aka the Joker, is still actually a part and connected to their lives. Even the Riddler right here, whenever it comes to a lot of the tech, a lot of the processing chips he uses for whatever the hell he's been up to, guess what? All those technologies, those forms of technologies, they're owned by another shell company, by Jack Grimm, aka Absolute Joker, and the very same company that, again, he buys those technologies from are also named after a famous clown. And the scholarship that basically turned Harvey Dent into the district attorney here in the Absolute Universe, ding, 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 you guessed it, according to Bruce Wayne and his detective work, once again, another shell company owned by Jack Grimm and named after a famous clown. Now, this is where Batman's detective work really starts to spiral down the whole entire conspiracy theory, guy who's gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs conspiracy nut, because he actually circles back to the tragic day, what happened at the zoo that, basically turned him into Batman and so on and so forth. But there's also quote-unquote dots that he's connecting that may not exist that ultimately lead back to them all being connected to representations of the animals of what they were based off of and other historic little events of what would turn his friends into their historic villains. Loosely connecting the dots because it feels like he's kind of grasping at straws right here, Bruce Wayne, because he goes on to explain, Wayland, your body was facing towards the croc pit, Ozzy's body was kind of facing towards the whole entire Penguin enclosure. Again, it feels like he's kind of grasping at straws, like he's missing his tinfoil hat here. The one that really feels like, okay, this guy's gone off the deep end is whenever he goes back to Harvey Dent right here, and he's like, you were at the petting zoo, specifically the Rams. Rams historically were part of sacrificial sacrifices for the Greek god Janus, the god of duality, two faces, basically. So yeah, it really feels like he's gone up the deep end here. Everything starts to boil down and really starts to fall apart. Edward Nygma, the Riddler, goes on to explain, look, if this was a puzzle, you'd be getting an answer, more a picture of the whole, not more pieces. Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, just calls him out like, buddy, you have gone off the deep end. And then even Bruce Wayne goes on to further, throw accusations like, I can't trust any of you, I don't want any of you getting hurt, but I can't even trust you, and so on and so forth. It's getting out of control. But the worst part is when his mom, yes, Martha Wayne, pulls up, she's here, she knows for an absolute fact, she already knew that her son was Batman, but now, like I said, she shows up here and he accuses her of being a member of the Court of Owls. She doesn't want to talk about it. It's getting bad. And like I said, yes, his mother, Martha Wayne, yes, she is a member of the Court of Owls. Confirmed. Of course, we knew that she was a member of the Court of Owls, but now everybody knows. And unfortunately, we were crunched on time. So yes, we're going to have to break issue 23 and do a part 2. That'll do it for the breakdown this time. If you enjoyed, please make sure to give me a follow, like, and a comment. And make sure you hit that follow so I can continue to keep informed on all things video games, trailers, comics, movies, and more. Check in at the other wings of the Asylum. Links down below. And definitely make sure, like I said, you hit that follow because we'll have part 2 out pretty quickly. And trust me, you want to be here for the showdown with Batman against Clayface. But I hope y'all enjoyed and hope to see y'all in the next one.